Hello, 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 hello. Right, let me just get the chat up here. Let's check the mic check. Mic check. Testing 1, 2, 3. The mic check. That sounds good. Mic check. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay. That sounds good. David, how are you doing? Good to see you. Just slightly different setup today. Let's just hang on 1 minute. I am here. There, fantastic. Yes. Prestige P, how are you doing? Nick, good to see you. Hello. Star Glider. How are you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Yeah, so, Jeff. Hey. Blue-eyed Key. Vincent, how are you doing? Good to have you on. Yeah, we're reaching that stage. Blaine, good to see you. It's 3 p.m. here in Canada. Really like the Crystal Golem. Fantastic. Good. Yeah, Jake knocked it out of the park with the art. Missed a few catching up. Good to have you back in, Starglider. Yeah, so today, what I'm going to do is, the last 3 streams I've been doing playtesting. And so obviously throwing up a few things that I've kind of thought, right, I need to just tinker with those. And so this stream is about the tinkering in a manner of, for want of a better phrase. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look through the rules and show you some of the stuff that I've updated. And I've gone over a lot of the corrections that people have sent me. And I am keen to have a version 1 beta that we can put out there, and just for a couple of weeks, and everybody who backed it will get to have a look and play, and we then get some feedback from people, and yeah, we'll be in a position at that point, hopefully I can just do a few more corrections and we have a finished product. And I'm going to go through the PDF today and talk about some of the stuff that's in it. And yeah. Oh yeah. The old Rad Zone t-shirt on there. Thank you, David. It's blue. Vincent says it's 5 p.m. here in the east side of Canada. 5 p.m. Well, it is 10 p.m. here in England. And yeah, I'm excited. It feels like we're just at a precipice here. We're going to get this rulebook out there at last. Your playthrough of the Legendary Dungeon and what we face is terrifying me. Make it stop. Well, actually, Blaine, that is a really good point. And I have adjusted some of the tables and content in kind of to make it a little bit easier, to provide more options. There's definitely I'm realizing with this version there's more of a strategic approach. You've got to strategize and pick out a few things that you need to keep an eye on. It should be terrifying, Jeff says. Yeah. That's just level 1. Nick, have you had a chance to play with your new toys yet? Ah, good old. Well done, David. Sharing the love. Yeah. So we'll give it 5 minutes. Let's give it. I hope I'm not too loud there on the mic. Try not to shout too much. And give it 5 minutes. Then I'll start going through the rule book here, and we'll have a look. Now this is, so I've got just a couple more things just to add in, a couple of little things, and just didn't get a chance. With everything today, I just didn't quite get it as finished as I'd hoped. But I'm going to do that tomorrow morning, and then I'm going to upload it, Jeff and Mark, if you're here, and anybody else who had the link, you can now then re-download it and have a look. Matt, good to see you. Good. Yeah, don't wanna. Yeah. Anyway, so I'll say it's been a crazy week at work, Nick says, as we return to the office for the first time since COVID this week. Blimey. Thinking it will be a perfect thing to play between cases at work, though. I looked through the artwork and it's gorgeous. Yes. Good to be here. Is this which one are we talking about here? Is it the Firetop Mountain? Was it? I can't remember. Yeah, so we'll have a look through, and I'm going to highlight a few things. And then this coming week, I'm going to do a video for the channel that looks at what the difference is between combat in 2d6 Dungeon and combat in 2d6 Legendary Dungeon. Because I want to try and dispel some of the confusion, potentially, some of the worry about how much more complicated it is to do the advanced combat, in a sense. And so it's going to highlight a couple of things that people can just remember, and it will help. In fact, there's a couple of new combat cards we'll have a look at today as well, so they'll be there to I can't remember what I sent now. Good. Okay. Let's take a look at where we're at. And this, bearing in mind, if you see any errors today in the text, it's I mean, you can say in the chat here if you want to, or you can make a note and email it to me. If that's probably easier, I will try and note them down here. I've got a little pad, one of my little pads with me here, that I'm going to try and note down anything if people see it. We're not going to be going through word reading it out, every single word. We're not going to be doing that. It's going to go to certain sections and have a look at different sections and just point out some of the stuff I've added. Once you get used to it, I think combat will still flow nicely. Just have to remember spectral powers, indeed. Walk of Firetop Mountain, yes. Trial of Champions, Caverns of the Snow. Wow! David. Very nice, very nice. Caverns of the Snow Witch. I love the art in that one. It's fantastic. But Russ Nicholson's art of the Warlock of Firetop Mountain is just... It's just the thing I have on a pinnacle. It is just the ultimate. Fantastic. So let's have a look here. And then once we've looked through it today, I'll put this video. It goes up on the YouTube channel, and then this coming week and the following week is just going to be about me doing some more testing, hearing back reports from other people's testing, hopefully. And if you want to test, well, all the backers are going to get their version 1 beta. so you can have a go. And if anybody does any maps or any kind of feedback or anything like that, fantastic. Your name will also go into the book as one of the play testers here. Now, I'm pretty sure I may have missed someone off here. I'm not sure. If I've missed your name off, please say. Share the love. I'm feeling the love in the chat today, for sure. Okay, so yeah, as I was saying, if you can, over the next couple of weeks or the next week, once I've sent it out, which will probably be on Monday, then listen. If it'd be fantastic if you do want to give some feedback. John, good to see you. Good morning, all from Brisbane, my favourite city. I love Brisbane. Yeah, as I was saying, you'll get your name in here and it will go into the book permanently. All right, contents is out of date at the moment. I'm going to update that once I've just made the final corrections. And this introduction was pretty much established early on. The narrative, the motivations, your journey to Legendary Dungeon is there. We know what that is. And there are some rules set down that we've gone over before. So I don't need to go over those again. Now, the area that has evolved is really around the spectral powers, around a lot of how that functions. Now, we talked about before about increasing health, permanent powers. We now have spectral power, spectral points can enhance items. There's a little section here, enhance items. You can also use spectral points to enhance particular items such as herbal remedies, throwing weapons, potions, and potion bombs. See more in the spectral on this in the spectral lexicon. So we'll get to that at the back of the book. So that's key. Okay, so one of the things, because it became very aware to me as I was playing it. This is an interesting thing, right? So I was doing, this is an expansion of 2D6 Dungeon, and I was very much focused on the new stuff that would create powers and options for the player as they move through this Legendary Dungeon. But what I hadn't really remembered was, say, stuff like the throwing axe and the potions that you might well have from previous adventures, or you may roll up within the dungeon, because I do access older tables, so you can get stuff like potions back in. But in the scheme, in the context of the Legendary Dungeon, they're not very powerful. So healing 10 health points when a monster can hit you for 30, 40, even 50 damage, it doesn't really help that much. So that was emphasized to me by comments in the chat last time, but also through my own experiences playtesting. And I'm like, well, so what can we do with that? Well, let's use spectral points to enhance things like throwing weapons and potions. And that is now a part of the game. And we will see as we move down. So that's... So nothing much else has changed there. Reading your characters the same. We've looked at this before, so we're not going to worry too much about all that. And this is basically all the same here. So I've added in a couple more additional points that we need to think about. So this came up before as well. If you gain an immunity or vulnerability, it overrides any that you may already have. So if you have a vulnerability to fire damage and then gain immunity to fire damage, then overrides the vulnerability. Okay, so that situation hadn't occurred to me because, well, in previous iterations, you didn't gain, there wasn't fire or cold damage. But now if this happens, then you can actually override vulnerabilities and immunities through this process as you play the game. Suddenly you may be invulnerable, vulnerable to fire, and then suddenly you may become immune thanks to some magical intervention. I've emphasised here your legendary your enhanced armor does not block enemy prime attacks. Okay, so we've had this. This has been asked of before, and herbal remedy soothing oil only heals specifically the fire form of damage. Okay, so that there, I reworded that line about 5 times, so that probably want a better rewording of that 0.5, but that basically means it because there is now fire damage, and soothing oil specifically mentions fire damage. I've just emphasised the fact that it is the fire damage that you will heal if you have soothing oil, which is pretty powerful. And it's that, do I leave some of these OP things in? I guess it's that balance, isn't it? It's the balance of the frequency of finding soothing oil, the frequency of being able to make soothing oil is probably quite rare. So although something's OP, when you get it, it's a thrill and it will save you, but you don't get it that often in theory. So if something is OP, how game breaking is it? I don't think that is game breaking. I'm very much to the opinion with this particular version that you have to accept the fact that it is sort of higher fantasy. So there's lots of damage, there's big moves, dramatic occasions, instances where it's like Conan gone to the next level, isn't it? It's kind of like he's now the emperor sitting on that throne. Who is he going to fight in that situation? You know, it's going to be someone powerful. So that's kind of where we're going. I kind of think that the soothing oil should heal more than just fire damage. Want to see how it works in testing? Yeah, maybe. But if you think about it, if you fight 2 enemies and they've both got fire damage and they do a lot of fire damage during that turn, you could be healing like 80, 100, 120 damage if it's the 2 creatures, because it counts for 2 rooms. So in any case, we'll see. It's a good point, Jeff. That might be something that is a bit open to interpretation as well. So we'll see. Because if a creature's maneuver, say, said fire in its title, then maybe you could allow that as well. That's complete. That would be up to you. So another thing that was pointed out to me with the pre-generated character we have in the book, who I use on the adventure, Jeff, eagle-eyed Jeff, spotted the full plate had the wrong dice sets. It was 3-3, and now it's 3-2. Okay, so you can see that on the full plate under the armor section. So that's been corrected. But also, with these pre-generated sheets, I've typed in what each of the scrolls is, say, for example. Well, now I've reduced the text and moved it up so that when you cross that out, you can write underneath. So these become more functional. It's little things like that, testing, which are kind of very useful to bring in. They're just thoughtful little bits, so you can think, right, so before the Magic Scroll title was in the middle of the box and you couldn't write anything in it if you were using this pre-generated page, but now it has, which is a little thing, but you know, little things like that, they can make a big difference. I've done the same with the potions, but you'll also notice with the potions you start with that I have changed the potions that you get. I have indeed, David. We'll come to that in a minute. That's in the next page. So regeneration, so prowess, gain health, and speed blast. Okay, so those now as potions are much more appropriate for what you're going to be facing in the dungeon. Because actually, although there are traps and there are tests, they're not as detrimental as the fighting. Fighting has more of a part to play within this particular version, I guess. So those ones there, healing, as I say, the healing is hard. You can't go back to the town and heal up at any point in the dungeon. You're just stuck in the dungeon, so you need access to healing. And so this is partly what this is about here. So your four starting potions are those ones now, rather than before, which looked at discipline and stuff like that, which really isn't as key to surviving the legendary dungeon. So we have here legendary item, as David just foretold. The item that the pre-generated character starts with is this spell book of Detonair. Okay, that's just for the pre-gen, right? If you generate your own, you would roll on some tables still. Oh yeah, I mean that's a good point. I hadn't actually written that in. Good point. I'll make a note of that. Or you can just pick one. Maybe you just pick one. Pick one. So you would not have access to the... You wouldn't necessarily be paying realm. So I will make sure that we put a copy of what they are in there here. Good point. Good point. Okay. All right. So this one is the Spellbook of Detonair. When you cast a scroll, it appears in the book. You may then cast it one more time. Okay. So that's the pre-gen. So you would use that. It kind of doubles your scroll power, really. So that is the added there. We'll scroll down. This is just your map stuff. Right. So we also have some legendary quick reference combat cards. So we've got immunity, vulnerability, exact, prime, and secondary rolls. This is kind of like, Frank, how are you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. So we're just going through the changes in the legendary rulebook, which is going to be out on Monday, which is going to be accompanied by a video looking at advanced combat, and then we've got the period, an open beta period where people can test it, and then we'll print in in a couple of weeks. So we'll then be well on the way to shipping this out. So we are looking good. Right. So we've got immunity and vulnerability, and then exact, primary, and secondary. So I've kind of compiled this fact. This is the key. This is the key to advanced combat, right? In the core 2d6 dungeon rules, page 23, an exact strike is when you roll the exact numbers needed for a maneuver when rolling to hit, which allows you, the player, to add the shift points to the damage. In 2d6 Legendary Dungeon, you are also now looking for exact primary and secondary rolls for the adventurer and the creature when rolling to hit. Exact impacts are attached to a die in the dice set recorded on the character sheet. And so if that number is rolled first time when rolling to hit that on that round without shifting the die, then it is triggered and the effect applied. This is as long as you can adjust the other die to the required second part of that maneuver. Hopefully that makes sense. And I am open to people saying to me, rephrase it this way, do it that way. because this is something that has gone round and round in my head. It's tormented me how to describe this to people. So this is, but having read it out again now, and I've read it out many times, maybe it doesn't necessarily specify the difference between, but in any case, you see what I mean. You're looking for exact rolls for the dice. Okay, so those are the two cards. They will have they're included in the card set. Okay, so they are just handy little references and what you do with immunities and vulnerabilities, which you will see on the creature cards. So we can that's a bit more straightforward. We also have the Caladir the Creator God card, and so there are the three kind of reference cards that come along with this particular expansion. But then obviously we're going to move on to the creature cards. Have a look at those. So we've got a little preface for the tables themselves, the tables section, because we're going into the tables now, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and maybe highlight some. They will be sideways, so it makes it a bit difficult to read, but we're not going to read out each table, but I'm just going to give you a little bit of a highlight here. All right, so each level has a set of tables. Now this is standard. This is what singular God card on the back instead of cards. That is a good question. It is only one, isn't it? God card. Yeah, no, I think you're probably right, actually. I'm writing that down. All right. Good point. Thanks, Jeff. I agree. Even though there may be more, it's a God card. Well, there's only one God, additional God. And it's because I've incorporated... I mean, she is just a God. Maybe I shouldn't have the 2d6 Legendary Dungeon God cards and just have a normal 2d6 Dungeon God card back. So she just slots in with the other ones. And there aren't at the moment any plans for any future legendary gods in an expansion. So maybe just join today. Love seeing this. Paul, good to have you in, my friend. Good to have you in. I think maybe I'll just shift that dungeon god cards up to there. Yeah, I think I'll do that. I think we'll do that. All right. Leave it as legendary, Vincent says. Well, I quite like, because to be honest, this... I mean, this fits in. Just having a look here. Yeah, we already have a Caladir God card in the Realm edition. And that's the normal God card back. That is a tricky one. All right, I'm going to have a think about that. I have to know about that. Because the assumption is, because this is an expansion of 2d6 Dungeons, so you do need the card. I can't expect to know that people have the Realm cards. So, okay, we definitely need to include her. Right. Okay, well, I'll have to have a think about that. Right. So, anyway, a little preface, and then you get the level 1 tables list And bearing in mind that some of the numbers may be off, so don't worry about the numbers at the moment. And then you get a little intro. So at the beginning of each section, and in fact, no, I'm not going to highlight it. Just going to leave it like that. So you read a little bit and it explains. Now this is what we saw this at the beginning when I was doing the testing. So you read that intro, it sets the scene, and it describes the first room. New form of enemy. There's a spacing issue there. Page 36, spacing. Okay. And you get a little bit of blurb, you read it, and you're like, okay, we're moving in. And then we get, for each level, you get your level 1 patrol event table. So because with each level, basically the patrol event is not necessarily a creature that emerges. It is sometimes the actual dungeon itself attacking you. Okay, so sometimes it might be something that falls down, and that is the presence of the power behind the dungeon trying to attack you in other ways other than sending his minions to attack you. Okay, so each level has one of those. And then we have the additional events. We have large rooms, small rooms, and then we have the actual rooms for the level. Okay, so, and of course they're color coded to make it easier to find them in the book, down the vertical spines and edges, if you like. And each of the rooms is a larger description, which is the format for the Halloween expansions. Incidentally, there is the Halloween expansion coming this Halloween, so keep an eye out for that. I'll be all over that in a few weeks. So if you're thinking about that, and I know everybody's getting excited for Halloween already, but it's still 6 weeks away. I've got a lot of work to do in the meantime. So we've got level 1 tables. Now, so these descriptions are twice as long as they are in 2d6 Dungeon. So you're getting twice as much content. That's just the nature of the narrative of this particular dungeon is a bit more involved. So because you're pushing into a world which isn't as familiar as 2d6 Dungeon. It is a dungeon, but there is a particular story which you're going to find out about in your own way. It isn't too controlling. It's there. It's flavour. You'll get a sense of it as you do it. So you've got part 3, part 4. Okay. Then it goes to level 2, and then we have some description as you go in. It has a bit about the doors, but it also has, level 2 starts the time echo sequences. So time echo sequences are magically rooms that magically echo moments in time that are related to the formation of the dungeon. They appear in a specific order and are unique to each level. Therefore, in the normal rooms, tables for level 2 and onwards, the room type column, can now feature an time echo sequence reference. These are carried out similarly to how level 6 in the 2d6 Dungeon core rules page blah 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 does with room sequences. So you've got a situation here where and you can see the same form here, but when you get down to the rooms, I don't know whether you can see this section here. If you look on page 54 here, you've got a sequence of rooms that you go through, and they describe to you something of the creation of dungeons. So it's going to be visions, it's going to be magic, it's going to be tough creatures that appear in this process, and you get to understand what's happened to the tragic story of the legendary dungeon. It will unravel. And so you've got those from level 2. Level 1 I kept simple, so that it's just like your standard, you recognise format, the familiar format that people are used to, so they can get into it, even if the levels are 30 by 30. And then with level 3 again, you've got with a little bit of spacing. Page 58 spacing. Get that right there. There's an extra space down after entrance there. I had to jig these around because a very clever chap suggested that I reposition some of these paragraphs. We have magical pressure begins on level 3. Now, you are deep in the ground in the domain of a terrible foe. The magical pressure has built, and it now affects how you perform, pulling on your joints and threatening you with headaches. For the whole of level 3, you have -1 shift, so adjust your character sheet accordingly. Let me just put a word in there. So it's a problem. You always see these things and you think, well, I can just add something in there. So it's a temporary. There are ways to increase your shift in the dungeon. I've tried to put more ways of doing that within the deeper dungeons, but you now have 3 shift rather than 4 shift. Again, there's more time echo sequences in this particular dungeon, and we progress on through, and you have some time echo sequences here. Then we're on to level 4, and we have, this time the pressure is even worse, and you now have -2 shift, so you're down to 2 shift on the level 4 dungeon. This could be really hard. This could be hard. You've really got to focus in on your spectral powers and taking advantage of situations and trying to just get through the dungeon rather than necessarily facing all the monsters if you can avoid it. So, or face or taking damage or gathering treasure. There's that part of this. When you finish this dungeon, you can come out and you can go into the realm and play the realm. Let's not forget that. So you may decide this might be the best way to get as much gold as possible to make my realm as powerful as it could be. That is completely up to you. But it wouldn't be fun if it wasn't a challenge. Thank you, David. That's what I like to think. There's the first level you can get through, then going to be applying the pressure. Okay. So we've got magical pressure, and incidentally, each room, each level has a as you get deeper in, all the exits are arches, but occasionally static energy builds up. So whenever you go through a door, static energy builds in the exits as if trying to bridge the gap. Whenever you find a room with 2 or more exits, roll a die for each exit. On a 1 or 2, static energy crackles between the archway. To move through here, you will incur 2d6 damage as you are stunned by the energy, drawing a lightning icon next to the exit to remind you of the peril, because it remains there for the rest of the level. Okay, so you have a different problem for each doorway. Potentially, it might be there. So you've got, if we go back up to here, doorways. Whenever you find a room with 2 or more exits, roll a die for each exit. 1 to 2, acid drips down into the archway, because each level has a kind of theme. Sulfur is, I think, it might be, is it acid or sulfur? They've all got their own little themes. On 1 to 2, acid drips down in the archway. To move through here, you will incur d6 damage as you're caught by the acid. Draw a drip icon next to the exit. So you can see there are challenges to moving through such things. So you've got it builds until, and you've got the same thing to level 4 here. And then we get to level 5. And we have some other stuff going on here. Level 5, diamond edges are sharp in the exits potentially, and they've become narrow and squeezed, so you take damage when you're moving through some of these exits. There's a central room in level 5 that you draw in. That is the final room. So before you start this level, draw a 10 by 10 room in the center of the map, which is the end room. The area around the central room must be, this central room, explored first, and only then does an exit open in the wall closest to the adventurer's current room, with the wall adjacent to the central room. So you are in a situation here where you have, you know your target, but you've got to get around, explore, and then you can enter. And the final room is where you meet the boss. There is a final table you read when you've completed that one, and that is in here, just there. I'm not going to stop on that one. That gives the game away. It tells the final part of the story and what happens to you at the end of this dungeon. And again, the same format here. So we've got the tables and then all the rooms. So all the 5 levels have this set of tables, but it doesn't obviously end there. We're talking about me making a game here. So we have some generic tables. Now, some of these are referenced throughout your levels as you explore. Yeah, spoiler alerts. Thank you. Hopefully I zoomed past that in time. So we have generic tables. Now, Jeff, you'll see there's a new table here as well. Weird fungi table. Okay. There's like a potion table 5. We've got additional diamond shrines, debris remains, creeping threat, and those are all in this generic tables section. Just bunged it all into there, and anything that's not level related, you come to the back of this page, and you check here. So there's areas you explore. I've tried to keep them as alphabetical as possible. Some are smaller, so I've had to squeeze them into spaces, but they're still numbered up on the index back there. So you've got grave good table, gas wall table, partially collapsing room table. There is one thing talking of tables, there is one thing that I haven't done, and it did occur to me a couple of days ago, but I haven't done the stretch goal tables yet. So those are going to be added over the next couple of weeks. Okay. Probably going to write some on Sunday. They aren't actually, they're optional tables, so you don't need them to play, but they are stretch goals and they are going in. And if you remember, they are with the 2d6 campaign. We have a section at the back after the bestiary with optional tables here. Optional tables, and then we've got a few in here, and it's going to be the same as that. Okay, those are going to go in over this period, and we will and they will be added into the beta, and there will be a bookmark too. Did I say, is that part of the stretch? Is that, I can't remember. A bookmark. Are you confused? Was that? Did we have that as part of the? I can't remember. I don't know what you mean, Jeff. So there are all those generic tables there. Then we have the bestiary, and this is the same format as before. Advanced combat bookmark was not a stretch goal. Yes. The advanced combat, yes. Yes. That is coming as well. That is an add-on. It is an add-on. Yeah. So we've got the new events. I think it's the Plague events card, the Advanced Combat bookmark. Those will be done over the next couple of weeks. So we'll get those. And we'll finish off the Animal Companion. I mean, that's largely there. I just need to tinker with it. And I hate to say this, but I'm just going to have to... It's going to be nerfed. It's going to be reduced. The effectiveness of the damage that the animals do is going to be reduced. It just has to be that way. We've gone through it, we've tested it, and I've stepped back from it, but now I realise they were too powerful. So I'm gonna reduce them down, but it may be that I add more conditions to things happening. But again, that is this next 2 weeks. I'm going to get this beta out there, and then I'm going to finish off everything else around it. So we're in a position to start printing stuff. So it may be that the Plague card is done on Monday or Tuesday next week, and we can get some digital copies of that out to people. So, well, obviously, Trevor doesn't need nerfing. He will just stay the same, because as you say, he was useless to start with. There were certain animals that won't suffer that fate, but it may be that I add in some other little advantages, bits and pieces. We'll see. So, but yeah. But if you remember, the Animal Companion book itself looks largely completed when you look through it. It is just some additional art that I'm just waiting for, and just as the balance. It's about the balance, isn't it, to a certain extent? Right. So the bestiary. Again, art by Jake. Yeah, they do, Jeff, and I just can't believe that I had forgotten about doing them. How silly is that? But that's fine. This is getting this out there for people to have a look at is key. So we've got level. If you look here on the description, it's LL1, so Legendary Dungeon Level 1. That stands for, and we've got a new type of enemy, elemental. I think I called it. Did I call it elemental? May not have done. What did I call it? This happens. Even nerfed, it looks like any help surviving will be welcome. Yeah. So what did I call them? Level. Let's go up to level 1. Sorry if this is giving your eyes a headache. New form of enemy. Energized, not elemental. Energized, the E. Energized enemies are inanimate objects brought to life and powered by spectral energy. Read the creature card carefully to find the feature differences. Carefully, as some feature differences they do. Yeah. I haven't worked. It's something I thought about, Jeff. Using spectral powers with your animal companion. The problem that we face is the animal companion is there not just for the legendary dungeon. So if I had an element to the animal companion that relied on you using spectral powers to magnify them, I mean, it's a good thought. I mean, it probably could put an animal companion power at the back. I could probably add one in. I'll add one in. It's a good idea. JRF2K, how are you doing? Can we still buy the Legendary Dungeon cards? Are those ready? Well, they're not printed, no, but they are ready. I mean, largely. We've got to double check, triple. It might be like the quadruple check. But yeah, the animal anyway. So you can order them. If you look there, late pledges are still available, even though we're sending it out, the digital out soon. You can go onto the form and put your animal. You can write Jo a message in the form and say, "Can I add the cards to my pledge?" And she will update your pledge. Good point. I think we're going to be running out of spectral points quickly with all the different ways we can use them. Adding a spectral power that is companion related sounds good. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So you can add it to your pledge, and we will print it. So, but once they're printed, we print them out. We get them all. It takes us a week or two to post it all out because there's thousands of posts to do. But once that has passed, and we've given it, say, maybe a week or 10 days, we then put it onto the shop. We give all the backers as much chance as possible to get their hands on the products before people who are buying it from the shop do. So that's the aim. So, you know, in the scheme of things, you may be able to buy it off the shop in 6 weeks, but you'll get it more quickly if you put it onto your pledge. So that's the best way of doing it, I recommend. Yeah, Jeff. So the Animal Companion is something that I imagine people like David taking his squirrel into the haunted house, say, for example. That is kind of where I'm going with it. Of course, JIF, yeah. I got your message and I just wondered. Yeah, by all means, go in and add it in. Anyway, so something to think about. We're going to get to the spectral powers. So we've got the creatures here, and look, the way that this picture format shows us that almost some of the letters almost got breaking up a little bit, but that is just the PDF at the scale, at the magnification it's at. These are all really high res images and are beautiful to look at, as are all the creature cards that we have produced here. So don't worry about that. So we have energized enemies, the E. And so these have one attack. You roll once for their attack, and then they're done. Okay. I'll hopefully be taking Trevor over the moors next month. You will. The Beast of Pencaro Moor is the expansion for the Halloween expansion this year, based on my own experiences fairly recently on Bodmin Moor down in Cornwall in England. So, which was there's some very haunting experiences that we had there. So, well, they were in my mind because I thought they were cool, and I thought we'll put that in. And we went to the Museum of Witchcraft as well. So that's going to kind of be incorporated a bit into it. Don't forget to verify the borders on the cards. Oh yes. Oh man, yeah, Vincent, thank you. I know I've done many cards. So these are just the way they are, because these are designed to be printed and cut out. But when I send them to the printers, they will be properly formatted so that they've got more edge, if that's what you mean. In any case, so each level has one of these energized creatures. And then you have between 7 and 9 creatures per level. You don't need a huge amount. It's not like the first level of the dungeon when there's loads of different, like, weak prey. These are all powerful enemies, and they all have their own strengths, and you don't need loads and loads of those. And you can see on here that within their maneuvers, they have additional damage that they do when they roll an exact number next to the die that power is. So you just got to keep an eye on that. So it then goes down to level 2. All artwork by Jake Abington. And then we have level 2. There's a card here which I've kept the art as it is, people say they see a dragon, when actually it's like a creature, but that's like a double image that you can see there. So I thought that was cool. And level 3, so things like Crystal Golem, which is becoming a bit of a kind of a character within the creatures. People, it's kind of something that is, I'm very pleased with that one. But we've got a range of things. I've tried to throw in some animals that are largely mutated, pulling in some of the characters from the temple above, which is part of the creation process. If you want a map of the Moors expansion, can we try for more than 12 hours notice like last year? Lol. Well, with the new Moors expansion, there are new rules for exploring a smaller area over land, which I think you're going to find very interesting. I'm really excited about it. So, yeah, the constable is on his rounds. Okay, so there are some new stuff coming, as always. And so we've got there's like a gleaming prioress, and then we've got a few like Lator Sar, which there are some kind of almost like Latin-y religious type names that have been thrown in, that are been designated, and you kind of know of the designation through your connection with the spectral power. So there's a kind of there's a combination of things, and yeah, and we've got like a sulfur ash cloud is the energized enemy on that level, and then we go down. We're getting some kind of metallic type creatures on the level 4, because that is largely the focus for that realm. So like a metal kingdom almost. And then Scaphoscelita, and then we have level 5 creatures who are very powerful, doing extra damage, like extra 22 ice damage and 26 fire damage and stuff like this when you roll it. There are Anvalna Psychotrex, which is the main enemy. So yeah, lots of creatures. A new creature cards back there. So really pleased with how they've all come together, and I feel like we've got a good balance. And it's quite one of the nice things about doing the creatures for this dungeon is because I didn't have to make them. I didn't have to worry about the XP too much, because when you kill a creature in this one, you gain spectral points instead, and I didn't have to worry too much about balancing the XP, which was quite nice. And also the level of challenge goes up gradually for each level. It's not like massive steps, like there is some big steps in the normal dungeon. Thanks, David. That Golem art, yeah, he's become a bit of a celebrity in this dungeon. Right, so the Spectral Lexicon. So this is the area where there may be a few changes during the beta stage, during the beta testing. So you've got the intro, which is fine. Now the text does look small on screen, but it's the same size text as the rest of the book. So I've, rather than launch straight into the powers, I've outlined the fact that there are other ways you can use spectral points now. So this is new. We talk about gems. Let's just go. Gems play a part now, because we were talking about this last time, and what function that they serve, and the treasure that you get. What is the use of it? Well, with the spectral powers, I need to change the explanation. page 121. Add in new subheaders. Okay, so what we have now is when you get a listing here of the power, like for example Bloodlash, it is, let me just make a all right. So it says here you get a little bit of text. It says exactly what it is because you had to go down to the effect before to really understand what it was. So an attack that also removes the blooded condition. So you get that in there. Now I've clarified the casting time. It takes up 1 round of combat unless cast before combat starts. So you can now use a power before combat and it's no penalty. You don't lose initiative in a sense. You still go first and the combat then ensues as normal. But now with each of these there is a gem related. So you get a gem and enhancement. So the ruby whips from your pack and shatters into 100 small splinters. These fill the lash with barbs and cause an extra 10 damage. That needs to be 10 HP damage. Now, this is the section where there's going to be a few little errors because I haven't had the team go through this section, the part of it anyway. So there will be, and we'll have a little update progress on the file for the beta. So I will make a list of changes that go into it once we start doing it. So this will be up tomorrow morning. So I think all you Americans will be asleep, but it will be available tomorrow. And so the gem, so you can have a gem combined with a power. So if you've got a bunch of gems and you want to cast Bloodlash, you've got Blooded, you have a ruby, you throw it in the air, it enhances the attack. Okay, so you get more usage out of gems in theory, and it also gives you a sort of a motivation to use some of these powers if you've got the gem in the first place. It's tying it all together. The crafting of the magic in this is becoming more important. It's becoming so. This spectral lexicon exists in the back of the core rules, but also you can get the spectral lexicon as a small little book that you can have as an aid that you keep with you and you can refer to as you're playing. So I think people may find that is a really useful tool, as this is a lot of where the damage can come from. So you can kind of make your way through the dungeon. It might be nice to find a way to make some of the beautiful creature art available in larger format posters, an art book, or drive and HQ print on demand. Love the art. Thanks, Paul. I like to give Jake feedback on these things. That has a very characterful approach to it. Not all of the art, just so you're aware of the process. So he sends me the images, but sometimes I have to put a bit of colour into them personally myself because he knows that I'm an artist as well. But he will often send me just little thumbnail type pieces because I just can't afford to have. I can't afford to pay for like a big piece of art for each one. But on a couple, he's kind of said to me, look, this one's gone bigger. And, you know, like with the crystal golem, and because it obviously takes up more time to be able to make the whole thing. In any case, so there's only a few pieces which really could be used in that situation. So the crystal golem being one. So we'll have a look at it. We'll have a look at how that works. The driving high quality print on demand. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know what people feel about stuff like that. do people want more art? Do we want a poster, maybe with some artwork in that kind of says 2-6 Legendary Dungeon, and maybe some of the creatures in it, maybe with the dungeon behind it? Mr. Baseman, how are you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. I recognise you from last time, or the time before, whenever. What do people feel about that? Because again, that is it is a certain time FM. Yes. Vincent, maybe a coffee table, because again, that's going to be an expensive product. I don't know what the call would be for that. It's maybe sometime that I could just to see my copy of 2-6 Realms. Cheers, no problem, Mr. Baseman. Enjoy. There were some videos as well. Go along with that one if you want to find out more about it that way. Tentative steps. Don't look at that and think it's overly complicated. It really isn't. And book guides you through it. I'm aiming for a bestiary. That will probably come. Again, it's out to whether that is the sort of thing that is going to be accepted, whether people want that. Maybe I have to put a survey out or something like that to see what people think, because it's about my time. It's about paying for the extra art. We'll just have to see. I might have talked about it before, but yeah. So I haven't quite finished updating the powers with these. So not all of these are done. There's a few at the end which need to be added in. So the little subheader, they're wrong, those ones. Poison nullifier, an emerald. You clutch it to your chest and focus. The power cost the power cost is 1 SP less, and also heals 20 health points. So the addition of something like that, sometimes using a gem with a power will actually do more damage, but it will also maybe heal. Maybe it will mean that the power costs less to cast, but the gem is consumed every time. So you lose the gemstone, but it potentially is going to help see you through the dungeon. Some other examples here. Oh yes, resonating barrier, which we did actually use. You create a rattle, and with this rattle, if you add a diamond into the rattle, the enemy loses 2 shift for the combat rather than just 1. So it adds an extra power to it. It gives more meaning, function to gemstones, which is I feel adds depth to the game. And people can really go a bit deeper on the crafting side of things with spectral powers. During I used healing pulse in my playtest, when really I shouldn't have done, because it's a permanent power. I must have just flicked to the page thinking it was a normal power, but it's not. So I used that in the game. Somehow I got access to that power. So you got those permanent powers there. Now we also have a new thing, enhancing items, which has come out of the playtesting. It's come out of comments people have left me. And so what we have here is a situation where you can spend just a small amount of spectral points to increase the effects of things. So Jeff, you haven't seen any of this yet. So yes. No, Jeff, I know. I just didn't. I was in the heat of the moment. I was excited. So we have. So I thought, as I was saying before, a lot of this stuff is designed for 2-6 dungeon, the normal dungeon, which is no way as hard as this one. And I was kind of like, right, so how can I use spectral points to enhance the standard equipment, the standard stuff? And so I have come up with a few tables here. Some potions can be enhanced, some herbal remedies can be enhanced. Say, for example, the medical bandage. If when you make it, you spend 2 spectral points, it heals 30 HP in the first room and 10 HP in the second, as the magic extends the healing properties. So you get like an extended period of sterilizing powder. There just needs to be a space there. If used in combination with the Blood Lash power, do an additional 10 HP heat damage. So sterilizing powder is designed to get rid of the blood, but if you then combine it with the spectral power Blood Lash, then you do extra damage. It's little things like that. I wanted to try and bring some character to the game, you know, try and make it, people can kind of knuckle down into the magic of it and see if they can really utilize and do some combos, you know. Potions. So fantastic. Thanks, Jeff. Potion. So you can spend spectral, gain health. You can gain more health by spending more spectral points. And you're right, Jeff, about having lots of spectral points that you can spend. But I have seeded the tables with more spectral points. That's part of the reason why it's taken me so long to just do this updates this week. I've been adding stuff into tables, upping totals, making sure that there's enough spectral points, hopefully, to give you enough to play with to then gain these extra benefits. So, for example, you spend 2 spectral points on the potion of prowess as you drink it, infuse it with energy. You actually get +1 shift for 3 combats rather than just the 1 combat, you see. So there's stuff like that. You have to you're going to need to go through that, have a read of it when you first get your spectral lexicon, and kind of realize, oh, I must remember to do that and do this. There's going to be some of that you're going to forget, but you know, that's part of what this knowledge is about. You don't necessarily, you have to kind of access your lexicon to be able to use it. Earth balance to where you have to make choices on how to spend them instead of having so many points available. Yeah, I'm trying to hit that balance. These aren't high, so potion bombs can be expanded out. So all the potion bombs can be that doing extra damage. You can use smoke screen. You imbue the bomb with spectral energy, and as the smoke fills the space, you're about to see the creature as it is outlined. You are able. Smoke screen. I missed that. You are able to see the creature as it is outlined in purple. You gain 1 shift for this fight. So there you go. You can up the shift. Which is something you may need later in the dungeon. There's a sense, I find, that there's going to be a slight shift, no pun intended, for when you go like levels 3, 4, 5. You are going to be scraping around to try and get more shift points, finding ways of increasing the damage that you do, reducing the damage that you take. Your armor can be damaged in those levels, so you've got to find ways of fixing your armor potentially. So there's other things you're looking at trying to do to scrape together to sort of be able to survive those lower levels. It's kind of that's how it's evolved as I've written it. And throwing weapons, because ultimately they are really useless in this part of the dungeon, like doing minimal damage to a creature that has 120 health points. So what I've done here is throwing weapons, so you can imbue them with these powers. So you can materialize, the weapon appears back in your hand, whether it's hit or missed. You can use it again if the weapon hits a wave of frost, freezing strike. If it misses next round of combat, so any misses around a combat, So there's stuff you can do to throwing weapons to make them more applicable. You know? And then within the game itself, there are specific magical items that you can find, in game, that have a power, because they've come through the creation process of the Legendary Dungeon and have ended up drawing in different qualities of some past creature or location, and it's been imbued with magic. So you've got like static armor, which helps repair some of your damaged armor, or Heartstone, which if heated by fire, so there's a little catch there, it will release a healing vapor when it's destroyed. Ceremonial amulet saves you from a killing blow. So there's stuff like that which is highlighted. Now, I've got to make sure with this section that I've got all of the items that you can find that are kind of randomly like, what is a Heartstone? What is that doing in there? Well, it can heal you. You know, so these are things you may find in treasure or in tables, and they're specifically listed in the lexicon, because the lexicon, the power of the spectral energy, gives you that knowledge, gives you that ability to recognize what they are. Okay, and there we go. There we go. Yes, there are a few little typos in this last section which I will pick up on before I'm going to reread those things tomorrow and find those and sort out the little bit of spacing up at the levels. And then and then tomorrow I will email my top guy testers and get that through the link to let you know the link is updated. Well, the link will be updated. Basically, those who have been testing for me, you can re-download from the link tomorrow. This will go up. I'm going to do the work in the morning, and then it will be available. And then you don't have to hurry back any corrections at that point, because I'm going to release it on Monday anyway as a beta, and then during that week it's going to be version 1 beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, beta 4, and it's just going to go like that. And then each time I do an iteration, and then ultimately once we then print it, it's going to be version 1. The beta will be gone, and it will be like bang. And that's how it's working. I mean, the document we've gone over and over and over the document, so there's lots. It has been tuned apart from this last section. And so we are in a good space. We're there, and then during that beta stage, we will be looking at the other little bits and pieces around. We'll get that stuff ready, and then so it's all coming to fruition. Which we're very excited about, and it'd be nice to then move on from this. I've really enjoyed doing this; has been fantastic. But I'm also looking forward to doing the Halloween special as well. That's kind of half written, and because I wrote quite a bit of it while I was on holiday, and then it's 2d6 void. So well, we have a rain forecast all weekend, so I know what I'll be doing. I'll be interested to hear everybody's responses, and any feedback would be awesome. Even if it's just sort of just looking through it and tell me what your thoughts are. Paul says, seems excitingly close. It really does. It's been a lot of hard work. I hope people can see how much goes into these things. when they look through it. It's all the Simulation Man says. The viewer ratio is off. Boys and girls, hit that like button before you go. Oh man, thank you. Yeah, I forget to say stuff like that. So happy to see the excitement of things to come. Yeah. Oh yeah. We've got Void. We've got Goblin Ancestry Dungeon coming at some point. Yeah. And to think, it's been out for 2 years now. I think 2 years for 2D6 Dungeon. Yeah. Oh, just before I go, so looking forward to... Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everybody, for the positive feedback. It really helps drive me on and inspires me. So anything like that. Let's give a shout to Paul, the Lone Adventurer, because he's just done a great video. I really enjoyed it, of Alien Sanctuary. I put it on the Facebook page. Go in there, give him some love. Maybe click the like, and let's get that video getting higher and help out. A good, really strong community member. So yeah, really good to see. Yeah, just over 2 years, for instance, says. Yeah. How about that, eh? It's hard to believe. Yeah, Matt, you're not wrong. Paul's got a really charming approach to how he does his videos. He's got a really gentle, honest voice, and yeah, it's nice to see what he does. Oh, well, there you go. David says that Paul's playthrough of 2D6 is the reason I'm here now. He introduced me to the game. Fantastic. Well, that is a great thing. Yeah, he's a really good guy. Yes, got to see Alien Sanctuary highlighted. Well, I do plan. Jeff, you'll probably laugh at this. I will be doing an additional update for Alien Sanctuary next year. I've got the IST to do, and I'm working on the Wild West Marshal, which incidentally is coming on really nicely. So that is good. That is good. I know. I like to try and keep a lot going. There's only one me though, so yeah, we'll see how we do. Good stuff. Okay, guys, fantastic stream. I'm gonna leave you there. You're good at juggling. I try. In any case, I will see you. I'm going to do some more testing this week. So last week I did Tuesday and Thursday. This week I've just done today because I've been trying to get the rules finalised over this week. So I've just had my head in that because I wanted to get that done before I do any more testing. So yeah. So we'll be getting into that. The game deserves so much love. It hits so many sweet spots for dungeon crawlers like me. Well, that's nice of you to say. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, so I'm going to be testing. I'm going to try and jump in during the day and do some more testing. So it's probably going to be an early one for you Americans, and then I'll do the normal Friday night next week probably. So it'd be maybe Tuesday, maybe Monday, maybe Wednesday, and then the Friday, the normal evening one. And at that point, we can talk about the release a bit more on that one. So hopefully we may have the Plague event card done by then, and we can have a look at that. And yeah, awesome. So guys, thanks for being here. Don't forget to like the stuff on Facebook, people's stuff that is shared. If you've got any stuff, any comments on to put on Facebook, do. And if you do get time to rate, these are the little things that can help a designer, a small indie designer. If you get onto the platforms like Board Game Geek and give me a nice rating for one of my games, that helps so much. It moves it up. People get interested. So that's the sort of thing that is really useful for. And there's also the Redbubble shop as well. So not that I just say that because I just suddenly felt like it. It doesn't really matter about that. But sharing the stuff on going to Board Game Geek is a good one. And yeah. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. The football's back on after the international break. I'll be watching Watford play, my football team. And go Bills! What a win against the Ravens last weekend. Now, if the Bills have played already, I don't think they have they? I'm going to watch the Bills game this weekend. Yes. Thanks, Jeff. All right, guys. You take care, and I will catch